like a trap? We wait to see, will you attend, will you not? If you attend, you're in trouble.
Actually, it depends, because everybody exercises their faith, and it is guaranteed in the Constitution. Nobody can tell you whether to go to church or not to go to church, or whether to pray or not. There are people who we have who do not ascribe to any faith. But again, here is a position where the opposition say, come with clean hands, and you also come with clean hands. We've seen in the past where both sides have actually come to a point that we think they've reached a consensus. And then
immediately there's a fallout.
Immediately later, there is a fallout. There is bad faith, there is mistrust. People are saying we are being used. It's like just to achieve an agenda. You saw the last time that the opposition had actually called for the protest, and then they said we have actually called it out. We have stopped the protest to allow for the bipartisan talks. But you saw later on the opposition leader saying that they were just being patriots, because at that particular time we had high dignitaries who had visited the country. So was it just a seize moment? Yes, so that we show we are actually united. And then when the visitors left the country, then we actually not united. So I think in a way the opposition are saying we really need to be very genuine.
And honest,
this politics of conmanship and not being honest and the distrust should actually end. So that if we come to the table, we come and say we are coming in good faith and this is the agenda. Not that we are saying we are coming to the table, but behind the scenes, you are pulling strings that are actually supposed to crumble what again you are saying. So even as the leaders go, because I know there are Azimio people who actually part and parcel of the committee that have organized the meeting, and they might decide to go. I don't think that they should be judged harshly that they have gone against the party position, because it is personal conviction.
At the end
Do
of
I
the
really
day.
want to pray, and what am I praying for?
And like we're saying, we put our differences aside, let's come together and just pray for the nation, really, because there's a lot of things that are happening.
And you know, this is coming at a time that people are actually digging into their spirits and asking, do we really have genuine faith? Especially after what we saw in Shakahola, we saw even the inquiry that are going around, and even in terms, because the general feeling is that we bury ourselves in the sand when it comes to religion, and then we don't want to question, because you feel that I should not question religion. So things go wrong, but because we are confined to that cocoon of faith, then we can't question. So even if these people are coming, it doesn't mean that when we come to pray and reconcile, we can't also question the wrongs that are happening. So we hope that this prayer, even as we come to reconcile, we'll also hear the undertones of people saying, hey, we are not in the right place at the moment. How do we move forward?
How do we move forward? I like that. And of course, if you ask me, one of my biggest prayers, you know, this morning is that all these leaders leave their bad manners at home. We come together, focus on the agenda of the day. All right, and of course, like we said, we have our very own Olive Barrows, who is at Safari Park for the 20th annual National Prayer Breakfast, which again, like we said, the theme is reconciliation with God and man. And of course, we'll be handing over to Olive after the break. And of course, I can see she is absolutely very ready with her panel. And of course, we have Reverend Canon Chris Kinyanjui, who's the General Secretary, National Council of Churches of Kenya, as well as Kawive Wambua, who's the Deputy CEO, Inuka Kenya. So of course, we'll be joining Olive after the break. Stay with us. This is a special coverage as far as the annual National Prayer Breakfast is concerned.
Safaricom is on the hunt for the next big footballing sensation. Register your team. Visit chapadimba.safaricom.co.ke. Cheza kama wewe. Ready to showcase your football talent? The wait is over. Safaricom Chapadimba is back. Bigger, bolder, and better. Safaricom is on the hunt for the next big footballing sensation. Register your team. Visit chapadimba.safaricom.co.ke, and you too can be the next football star. Cheza kama wewe.
I'm not going to leave her. I already told you. I heard that you mistreated her at the office today.
I imagine that she went crying to you and set you against me.
No.
What's going on with Diana? Why won't anyone tell me anything? Your grandfather didn't bother taking my phone call.
You will be in big trouble if you say another word about Irene's daughter. Erase the thought from your mind.
But sir, I've already told you the girl I saw here is her daughter.
She's not! You had better watch your step. Because I wouldn't have any problems about making you disappear as well. Get out of here!
Head over heels.
Two out of 3 Kenyan parents felt that they don't spend enough quality time with their kids. You can help change this by giving a generous voice to Storytime. Visit our library of homegrown audio stories at cadbury.africa and make Storytime sweeter.
Naona the famous moss ni makurutu tu. Wanaume ni nguvu.
Kaa mbali na familia yangu, umesikia? Nakumbuka mbali na familia yangu wewe.
Shield your families from germs. When Dettol is a part of every household bucket, then you and your family can stay protected from up to 100 illness-causing germs.
Everyday use of Dettol keeps my loved ones protected.
Cascadia Apartments at Two Rivers Development in Nairobi with a Madaraka offer till 30th June 2023. Price start from 9.2 million. Call us today on 0742 342 722 or text Cascadia to 22365.
All right, welcome back to the Safari Park for the 20th National Prayer Breakfast hosted by Parliament. In fact, speaking of reconciliation, the co-chair of the bipartisan talks team, and that is George Murugara, has just walked past us. We waved at him. Shortly, I imagine Melita Oletenges will speak to him and get his response to Azimio's principles, saying they will not attend today's prayer breakfast, citing a lack of honesty and arrogance. And with me in this makeshift studio this morning, I have sitting next to me Kawive Wambua, and he is the Deputy CEO in Inuka Kenya, and sitting next to him, in fact, they tell me they're old friends. They're old friends. We have Reverend Canon Chris Kinyanjui. They were weighing in on the theme this morning. It's gotten lighter, so I don't have to rely on Fidel Ndinga. He's my cameraman, and I don't have to rely on his bald head for lighting. It's gotten much lighter. He's laughing. It's gotten much lighter. We can see people now and see each other much easier. There is the wait staff that has already lined up. They're ready right over there to my left, ready to serve those who are already in attendance. As I said, a lot of people have been streaming in even before it got as bright as it is now. There are no smells wafting in our direction quite yet, which is a good thing. Which is a good thing. Otherwise, our tummies might start grumbling and leak into our sound. But gentlemen, when we had the prayers for, what was it, famine and drought and hunger, a lot of people made fun. But do you think, Reverend, that prayers such as this hold an important place? Because this is the 20th one. Are they important?
Yes. Well, today is the 20th time that we are having this national prayer breakfast, which is a culture and a tradition that we have gotten from the Americans. Here in Kenya, Kenyans are very religious. We have about 95% of people are religious. Either they are Christians or they are Muslims. And therefore, prayer is one of the pillars of our religion. When we actually pour out to God and say, these are the challenges that we have. In this country right now, we have challenges of cost of living. We have challenges of inclusive government. Some people are feeling left out. We have a sense of belonging that is wearing out. And therefore, people can cry to God. And I think for the political leadership to come together in a prayer breakfast like this, I think is a step in the right direction. The issue is now the fundamentals. Before you go to prayer, you must first of all confess your sins. You must cleanse yourself. You must repent. And there must be a sense in which the people that you are praying with, what the Bible calls your brothers and sisters, that you have reconciled. In fact, the Bible says that if you go to prayer and you have a debt with Kawive, that I go back and settle the issue with Kawive, then come and offer my prayer. So that is the question, and I hope that our political leaders, who are the main characters today, have done that with each other. Thank you.
I know Kawive, when Winnie was taking you through the newspaper, was asking how much is breakfast here at Safari Park. In fact, his very first statement right off the bat was, we are here having sumptuous breakfast and Kenyans are going hungry. But do you take the same view as Reverend here, that these prayers are important?
I think the Bible says, I'm not a priest, although I should have become one. The Bible says very clearly that when you pray, don't pray like the Pharisees. Mm-hmm. When you pray to God, first, as the Reverend has said, and is very senior in that respect, there must be repentance, there must be truth-telling. You must tell yourself and God the truth. You must be able to offer justice where there has been injustice. You must be able, therefore, then to call the people to reconcile with. Now, if that has not happened, then you can't pray. You simply can't pray. Who will hear the prayers if you have not repented?
But is God not a forgiving man?
God is forgiving, but you can only be forgiven if you have said what you have done. And if you have made the restitution, if you have given back to, like he said, to Kawive, what you have taken from Kawive. I think that's the point. That these prayers, in my view, should be preliminary, as in to prepare ourselves for repentance. We should see in this breakfast people saying, this is what we have done, this is wrong. We should see in this breakfast saying, we are preparing to overtax Kenyans, and it is wrong. And therefore, we are going to set this aside. We should see in this breakfast people saying that there are things that we've done in the elections that have caused divisions. There are things that we have done in the running of this country that has caused problems, and we are ready to make amends. That is the purpose of prayer. Otherwise, it can be a circus. We can come here, eat. I think if the price of breakfast is 2,000, and we are paying with taxpayers' money, 2,000 could have fed like 5 families in a day, and that's one person. For example, I'm just taking the figure 2,000. So that is how many families times the number of people here who have not been fed. I think, and it will become, in my view, a circus if the foundational issues are not taken care of.
All right, and Reverend, before you censure me, God is a forgiving being, omniscient, omnipresent. I apologize. But Reverend, and we have Melita Oleteng is not standing not too far away from me, so he will, as I mentioned, be engaging some of the members of Parliament who are already here. But Reverend, the church has previously played a pivotal role in bringing the country together in line with the theme reconciliation. It has been at prayer breakfasts such as this that we saw hugs and handshakes.
Yes, well, we saw, I think, 2 or 3 breakfasts behind. We saw the hug between the president and the former prime minister, and between the current president when he was deputy president and...
was this in 2017, 2018?
I think it should be 2018.
2018.
Yes, after the handshake. Obviously, it was a moment that Kenyans loved. you know, to see our leaders together. It is the same feeling that Kenyans had when they saw the president, President Ruto, and the former Prime Minister Raila during Mukami Kimathi's funeral, because they could see the leaders shaking their hands and sitting together. Kenyans want to see a symbol of unity. So the church has played a very key role. The first resource that we have for cohesion and reconciliation in the country is the president. The constitution is very clear that the president is the symbol of national unity. Once a person has run a campaign and has won, they stop being a property of their party and they become a commonwealth, a resource for the whole country. And therefore, anybody who voted for him or a person who never voted for him, all Kenyans now come around the person and say, this is our symbol of unity. And therefore, it was very critical and very instrumental. Even his presence here shows that unity. So therefore, that's the reconciliation, and that is the kind of bringing together that we work with. So we work as a church with the president of the day to bring the country together. And that is the work that we have been doing behind the scenes.
Behind the scenes?
Yes.
But there's a trust deficit that you made reference to. Was it you or Kawive earlier? And we'll get to the trust. We'll get to the trust deficit. But Kawive, you know, when you were talking about the cost of this sumptuous breakfast, I don't know how sumptuous it is. We have to taste it first. But it reminded me, because I covered the Madaraka Day celebrations. And I understand that it's a national holiday, and usually at events like that, you showcase, you know, your military might, you know, in some, given the fly past and all of that. But I was looking out for the president and him getting into the venue, and I saw the Chief Justice come in. And the vehicle, in fact, Dan Mwangi described it as a beast. Ahmed Nasir, I don't know what words he used, but I can't tell you the make of the vehicle, because I'm just told there are not too many of those in the country. Thereafter, the deputy president came in, and then the president came in, you know, the outriders, the number of vehicles, and you know, these are what are described as fuel guzzlers. You know, at a time when we are told the coffers were empty and we need to increase taxes, do you expect also demonstration from the executive and from even the judicial arm of government of prudence, financial prudence?
There's something else you missed, which was the number of choppers that were parked in that compound.
I forgot, but I remember them now. And
remember that the bill that is proposing is only reducing taxes, 16% VAT on choppers alone, so that, you know, and you know, what you are asking about the cost of living and the largesse, the kind of ostentatious largesse. I mean, why would you need 45 cars when one person is going for a function? Yesterday, I'm sorry to say, you saw the First Lady was riding a bike, and there were 14 cars in the entourage, and
you counted them?
Yes, and 3 motorcycle riders and 2 ambulances.
What were the cars doing?
They were escorting her. So, and we are told there's no money. Where? Which country does not have money? If the president is genuine, and because, like Reverend has said, is the symbol of national unity, Kenyans should be united against the cost of living. The president needs security. Fine, let them have 2 cars. His car and another car, and he will get to wherever he is going. Let's not have this, and this is something that we have said. You cannot say you are angry and you're driving a Guzzler, not 1, not 2, but 40, and you are you are saying there's no money in this country. How? Where does that money come from? Where does that money to fuel all those choppers to go for a state function come from? How many people are unable to put a meal on the table, and they are being asked to give more? Yesterday, the headline of the newspaper Nation was, Unga, sugar will go up again. See the word again. So they have gone up so many times that now you don't know, you know, sugar at 490, 413, whatever figure, it is totally unacceptable. And the president must lead. If he is the president of Kenya, he must lead. He knows that people are angry, people are not eating, the cost of living has gone high, cut on government spending. We did a statement when the CASs were appointed. How many were they? 50 or whatever? First is an unconstitutional office, and then there are just too many. It's unconstitutional because it's not there in the constitution. Then there are just too many, and we said, please, save us, save the taxes that we pay so that we can do other things. We need medicine in hospitals, we need our education funded, we need basic services to be provided to Kenyans. And you can't do that when you are feeding an ogre. The government has become an ogre. It takes everything and we are left with nothing. It's not right. The president must stand up and say, I will lead in fiduciary responsibility, I will lead in getting the expenses of government cut, I will lead in ensuring that a lot of the taxes are plowed back to Kenyans.
All right. And he has said, and that's the other question that I will get to, Reverend Cannon. When you talked about how a good number of Kenyans, the majority, profess faith, and yet corruption remains a thorn in our side. And though the president has said he will take personal responsibility for at least the housing fund and the concerns around that. But before we get to that, we had mentioned a trust deficit. Yes. Religious leaders historically have been expected to provide counsel, you know, to temper the temperatures, you know. And your namesake, Kinyanjui, Sami, yes, the provost, has he left for the United Kingdom?
Yes, he has.
Okay. He has been very vocal, very unapologetic. And historically, we've had Ndingi Mwananzeki, religious leaders who have come out strongly on issues of governance. Do you feel that the church has abdicated this role?
No, not quite. I think every decade in this country, or every regime or administration, has had its own prophets, has had its own priests and its own leaders. Ndingi Mwananzeki, who is late now, was there during Moi's time. And during Kibaki's time, there were those who were there that spoke truth to the president, advised him privately and also in the public. And therefore the church, you can see, the public still have very high trust. When we measure trust in the country, it is political parties that are at the bottom, at around 22%, the trust that Kenyans have on them, and the political leadership. But on the church and the religious sector, we are about 79% trust levels. So the trust level is there. But what are we doing with the trust? So one thing I would like to say is that the church serves this country in very many ways. We provide education, we provide psychosocial support, we provide health services, about 40% of health services, and therefore people trust the church and they come there when they have trouble. When there is political challenge, like now there was Maandamano, we were there doing shuttle diplomacy, talking with the president, the prime minister, until they came to the negotiating table. So we'll continue to do that. But obviously, it's not our only role. Everybody else must be able to bring the country together, and that is how we achieve reconciliation. That's why for me the theme of today is a good theme. We must be reconciled, because unless we are pulling together, even our economic situation, which is very bad, as Kawive has said, it's not going to get better. The president alone cannot solve the economic crisis. We have an economic crisis that is pushed, that is caused by COVID, it is caused by the Russian war, it is caused by so many other factors. So that is why I support what Archbishop Olesapit told the president. There comes a time to tell the people the truth. If you promised heaven and you can't deliver it, tell the people. Yeah,
he actually said,
tell the people the truth. Yeah, tell the people the truth. We can't build the railways, we can't build the houses, we can't do all these things because we don't have money. But when we have money later, we are going to do it. This is the time, and I hope that we will hear such kind of speeches today. Yes.
All right, Kawive, I'd like to direct you in the direction, of the finance bill. We've had several organizations come out to take issue with some of the contents therein, including Okoa Uchumi, of which you are party.
Yes, yes.
So what would be your call to legislators this morning as they gather here, I suppose in good faith, you know, because mulisema mkikuja kwa Mungu, uje na roho safi.
You know, this finance bill, and there were demonstrations yesterday and the police lobbed tear gas at the people who were demonstrating, because we are saying it's unreasonable. Why? Apart from the housing fund, you know, the housing fund has become what everybody discusses. It's become the rivet. Even the president talks about the housing fund all through. But that is a red herring. Red herring in the most part. Why? Of course, there is the people with pay slips. But how many are those? Like 30% of Kenyans have got pay slip, let's say. I don't have the exact figure. And that has been the discussion that we're having. We are not having a discussion about the 16% VAT on fuel. You know what that means? That means that every Kenyan, not the 30%, 100% of Kenyans will pay 16% more on everything. The cost of production will go high, the cost of doing business will go high. So our position is that, of course, the housing fund must go. It should not be a tax. It should be something voluntary from the government. But if you can't say it is voluntary, then you make it mandatory. You can't. That doublespeak must end. We must have sincerity. We must have confessions. And then secondly, the VAT on fuel, the increase in NHIF and NSSF, basically the service delivery points have been taxed. Food will go up. So every Kenyan, we are saying, if this finance bill passes, every Kenyan will become a loser. Every Kenyans will suffer. And we are saying that legislators who are coming to this prayer breakfast, I hope they are watching, should be able to know that they are not legislators for their homes. They are not legislators for their pockets. They are legislators for the country of Kenya. And the people of Kenya expect them to make decisions that benefit the people. A decision to pass this finance bill is a decision to kill the people of Kenya. I think that should be plain clear. If they do pass it, then they should be censured. I think if a bill like that passes, every citizen has got a responsibility to censure their member of parliament. And how do you censure them? Make them irrelevant. When they come for funerals, don't give them the mic. Because why are they talking when the cost of unga has gone through the roof? Why, when they are supposed to be the buffer that protects us from an overzealous government and protects citizens from being affected by taxation, overtaxation and all that. So, as Okoa Chumu, you have said that it is possible for the government to make money and to get money to run the country without overtaxing Kenyans. It's a well-known fact that you cannot overtax the population to prosperity. You cannot. No government does that. So I think the government should listen. The MPs have got a responsibility to be the vanguards to ensure that the price of unga, the price of food, the price of doing business does not go up. Yes.
All right.
I want to add something. Yes, okay. I have something to add on the finance bill. I am concerned with the framing of the debate. Because the first question is the only tax that is in this finance bill only the housing levy? Yeah, and I think the answer is no. I think that this has been hyped up, and I think it's unfair because this has been a proposal in the works.
Yes,
and needs to be considered in a sober way. But I don't like the framing by the government side, because they have said if you are an MP and you don't pass the finance bill,
yes,
there will be consequences. Don't come to us for roads or for infrastructure. I think that's unfair. Then on the other side, you have the opposition. They have told the MPs, we are watching. If you vote for the finance bill, then you are a traitor. And you know, if you put that in mother tongue, in the villages, it's a very strong language. So I think the MPs have been put on an edge that they can't make independent decisions in line with the standing orders of parliament and in line with the mandate that they were chosen. My appeal to the MPs is that they must listen to their conscience. They must listen to the people. Our country cannot be coherent and have cohesion if people don't feel included. If the views that people gave to the finance committee, which largely over 90% were against the finance bill, are not taken into account, then what is the purpose of having a public participation? Why are people saying they don't want to be overtaxed? And if the government goes ahead and overtax them, even if parliament passes it, we are going to actually widen the gap and contribute to increasing the trust deficit. People lose trust in parliament. And if Kenyans lose trust in an independent organization or institution such as Parliament, there is going to be consequences. That is how countries break down into civil disorder and lawlessness. And we have good examples around our country. It is time for MPs to listen to the people. It is time for the opposition and government side to listen to the people. People are saying tax us, yes, but don't overtax us. Eventually, we want a tax regime that is equitable, that is fair, and one that does not pit one people against the other.
All right. And Kawive, you know, around this finance bill debate, there has also been a lot of discussion about stem the lossage of funds, the leakage. We call it leakage. You know, we've been reminded consistently that we lose about, what, 30% of the revenue raised annually. Former President Uhuru Kenyatta put the figure at, conservatively, I'm told, 2 billion.
2 billion a
2
day.
billion, 2 billion,
2 billion
shillings. Are you encouraged now by the actions we saw from the President with regard to suspending a principal secretary when the KEMSA scam, suspected scam, let me be politically correct because it's still under investigation, was raised, concern that was raised by Global Fund, even with this mercury. We're talking about the cost of sugar just now. Even with the mercury sugar, he took action, suspended officials from the KEBS, the KRA, and even with KRA. He has, you know, he's been the National Taxpayers Day, the other day when he went to file his returns, he's been talking tough on this issue of corruption. Are you encouraged?
I think the fact that as a regime he has started doing that, it's a good thing, and I think it should be encouraged to continue. But there should be a plan. What is the plan for fighting corruption? What is the plan for fighting leakage in this? We don't know, because when they were doing campaigns, they were not very strong on the anti-corruption or the corruption campaign or frame. So we need a frame, a national frame that says this is how we are going to fight corruption. So the scattered ad hoc kind of suspensions are not going to help us if they are not systematized. We have a plan in place. A government must think and tell us this is how we are going to fight corruption, and this is what we want the role of everyone to be. That plan does not, in my view, exist. It has not been given.
The plan, as I understand it, is they said they will foster independence of these investigative agencies, even the judiciary, by giving them an autonomous budget, increasing funds allocated to these agencies. That is my understanding. And I spy from the side of my eye, Melita Oletenge's George Murugara, co-chair, the bipartisan team, and Owen Baya. I see them there. So how about we listen to what they have to tell us this morning? Maybe there has been progress, some much needed, welcome progress. Okay, I'm told let's give them a minute or so. But I was talking about what I'm saying, of that plan, because that has been the plan.
What I'm saying is, right now, we don't see the independence of these institutions happening. We don't. You know, Parliament is supposed to be an independent organ. Today it's not. It is being given orders. The other body, like the Director of Public Prosecutions, how many cases were dropped? 8. And today we say, not 8, many of them, but at least as a National Integrity Alliance, we identified 8, where Kenyans lost 13 billion.
And we say,
this person,
the nomination of the
DPP Nuruddin Haji. And we say this person who is being nominated, please, he took these cases to court, and if he withdrew them, then it means he had not done due diligence. Therefore, he wasted our money as Kenyans. And what happens? The president nominates him, and I hear he has passed in Parliament, although it is not confirmed from the committee.
Okay. So speaking of committees, I'm really sorry to cut you short, Kawive. But Melita Oletenges, as I'm told, is ready. Melita, over to you.
With some members of parliament, of course, members of parliament continue streaming in here at the Safari Park Hotel for the 20th National Prayer Breakfast. And of course, this is an event that brings together members of parliament, members of the Senate, of course, the Speaker of the National Assembly, Speaker of the Senate, presided over by the President. Of course, his deputy, Rigathi Gachagua, will also be here. And of course, I just want to speak to them without wasting any more time. Thank you so much, Dr. Shadrack Mwiti, the Member of Parliament for South Imenti, for making time for us here at NTV. If you could just start by perhaps telling us, what do you look forward today in the National Prayer Breakfast?
Today is a very important day for us Kenyans, being the 20th prayer day. One, we are looking forward to having a great sermon and also to bring Kenyans together. We are blessed to have a God-fearing president. Kenya is one nation, and our prayer is all Kenyans to look in one direction and to speak with a language that to make Kenya better. Today, we are looking forward. The differences that we have been having, we forget them and put our hands together so that Kenyans will speak in one language. And more, today we are going to pray for our finance bill that is being discussed both by the community, by the Kenyans, that Kenyans are going to see the better part of it. So today is an important day. Regardless our party affiliations, regardless our beliefs, we have to put Kenya under one umbrella. We put God first. We forget our selfish interest.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mwiti, the Member of Parliament for South Imenti. Allow me to speak to Gitonga Murugara, who's also Member for Tharaka and also a co-chair in the bipartisan talks. Perhaps just tell us how far you're with that, perhaps, and then tell us about what you expect today, the National Prayer Breakfast.
Thank you very much. There is a short lull in the bipartisan talks. As you know very well, the parties are to go to the drawing board and make further consultations. And we expect the Azimio side, which is the one that called for the lull, to consult, and we agree, and we go back to negotiate. So soon and very soon, we shall be back to the table, where we shall be discussing very important national issues.
And perhaps today, what do you expect to pray for at a personal level, and perhaps given the current political landscape and the political temperatures, Kenyans are waiting to see where the country leads as far as the finance bill is concerned. Perhaps what are your sentiments in regards to this?
I personally, and also as a country, we shall be praying for reconciliation. Reconciliation means we come together so that we are able to forge ahead as a country, united under one president, His Excellency William Ruto. I will also be praying for foresight so that we are given the wisdom to lead the country in the manner that it is supposed to be, and also make decisions that are most suitable for every Kenyan, including the finance bill, which, in my view, actually stands for raising revenue for the betterment of the lives of the people of Kenya. I'll also be praying that similarly, as the government forges for unity, the opposition must also come together with the government, so that as a responsible opposition, they are able also to pray for the country to remain steadfast, united, and forging ahead in one direction.
Thank you so much, Gitonga Murugara. Allow me to speak lastly to the Member of Parliament for Kilifi North here, Owen Bayaba. Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us. Perhaps this particular event in the past, we've seen leaders taking the stage, and particularly 5 years ago, we saw sort of an olive branch being extended by President Uhuru Kenyatta to William Ruto. But this time round, the Azimio la Umoja leader has actually said he's not going to attend this meeting.
It's very unfortunate, because this is a national event that should cut across parties and affiliations, because we gather here today as members of parliament and leaders of this country to pray for this nation. Now, that is an important thing, an important event for the country. It is held, prayer breakfasts are held in the United States and all other places, and all leaders across the divide attend. So it is very unfortunate for the Honorable Raila Odinga to actually skip this event, and we will pray for him that he knows that Kenya is greater than all of us, that at a time like this people must come together as a country to pray for the country and reflect on where we want to go and where you are coming from. I think it's very, very important that he be here, so that even at this particular moment, God makes different kind of visitations. Probably you'll visit the president and him at this particular event and see how you can bring the country together. Right now, this country needs everybody together more than at any other time. With the kind of economic recession that we have, with the kind of measures the president is trying to put in place, I think we need everybody. And it is unfortunate that Raila Odinga does not want to be here.
Lastly, this event, as much as leaders come here, congregate and pray and bring the nation together, praying for the different issues that affect the nation. Perhaps after this event, some of the times we've actually had priests come out and say the leaders are sort of hypocritical in the sense that they go back on their word and the promises that they make here today.
You see, this event is one of those national unity events, and it's not about the spiritual. It's not about hypocrisy. It's about bringing a country together. Sitting here and sharing a breakfast, even at home in African setting, it is not that you do not have food at your place, that we invite you to come and have food at our place, but the idea that you come together as a country to come and sit together and discuss and pray. You know, prayer to God does not look at the vessel of the prayer, does not look at the person. You know, God looks at what is inside of you. And at the end of the day, for me, it is important that Kenyans come together to pray, despite their ranks, despite their religious affiliation, despite their thoughts and thinking about the country. We have to come together and pray. This is a national symbol of unity, and it must be respected as such.
Thank you so much, Mheshimiwa Owen Bai, of course, speaking to us. Just reflections of members of Parliament, just mentioning what they expect today. And of course, the highlight of this so far is just members of Parliament looking forward to actually uniting the country in this particular National Prayer Breakfast event. But remember that the leaders from the opposition have actually decided not to attend this event, mentioning that it is not creating an environment for trust among the citizens and of course also with the government. And this means that today we'll only maybe see members of Parliament from the opposition, but the leaders of the opposition will not be gracing this event. We now take a quick break right here on NTV, but stay with us. We'll be back with more.
My skin is my identity and deserves care made specially for me. New Nivea Radiant and Beauty Advanced Care with 5 oils and 5 vitamins helps reduce appearance of stretch marks in just 2 weeks for your shade of beautiful.
I am so excited to have joined MKU. The flexibility in the payment of fees makes education very affordable.
With over 165 fully accredited programs and the state-of-art learning facilities, you literally have the world in your hands in terms of career choice.
The learning is not only uninterrupted, but also supported through ICT. And within no time, you're done with your studies.
Join us and start your career journey.
Intake is in progress. Mount Kenya University, unlocking infinite possibilities. Mount Kenya.
Naona kakitu.
Naona the famous moss ni makurutu tu. Wanaume ni nguvu.
Sensodyne Repair and Protect with Deep Repair.
It's the headquarters of good vibes. So I should just kneel and begin to call on Jesus because I'm a bishop.
You know, Dr. Kingori, yes, you sound like a street fighter. Where did you grab it? Unataka noma.
Kingori, let me tell you something. Mimi mtu angenipata saa hiyo nikiwa first year.
You know, they always say smart women, where to catch them is with love.
Kingori, I love how your suit looks. I love you in a suit, I love you in a t-shirt.
As in any example, you actually mean that. Umefungua akili ya msee ama kichwa ya msee ukapata vile watu husema huyu jamaa ana akili.
Tunaweza toa nyama kwa huko nyuma tuweke kwa
kifua. Sisi mtu anakuwa na roho chafu sana. Na ukidive inahesabiwa?
Yes, ndio ukiwin, udive win si umewin.
Hiyo ndio tizi unafaa upige. Napiganga tu tizi ya 90 meters ya kwanza, alafu nikifika 90 meters na fly. Every Friday on NTV 7:30 p.m.
Wicked Edition in association with Showmax.
I invited Robert today for my sisters to meet him.
Hi! Wait a minute. I know that beard.
Are you an artist or content creator? Would you like to monetize your content and make passive income? Join us today on Skiza Nation by reaching out to us on our social media platforms or send us an email at skiza@ke.nationmedia.com or call us on 0719 038 575. Skiza Nation, supporting local talent.
I don't trust the reverse yet. Go on like that. Reverse. That's good. Go on. Break, 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 break. Just what I was fearing.
This is Brian Babu. He is the stylist of the day.
We'll need to find where your sweet spot is now. You're working with a different body.
How long have you guys been married?
We're doing 18 this year.
18 years. Wow. Our marriage is going to be able to vote.
We're definitely not perfect.
I can tell you that for free. Where can't you vote for me the chair?
You never pull chairs. You never open doors.
Okay, simama nikupigie chair.
Sasa unataka niamke ndio nivutie kiti na nishajivutia.
I'm running her crazy. Ongeza volume.
This is NTV.
Welcome back. We are coming to you live from the Safari Park Hotel here for the 20th National Prayer Breakfast happening here. Members of Parliament, senators have been streaming in from as early as 6 a.m. in the morning, and of course just to attend this event, looking forward to the highlights of the day. We've already talked to a number of them, number of members of Parliament. Now we are going to be speaking to the ladies. Earlier on we spoke to the gentlemen. Allow me to speak to Mheshimiwa Wako, who's a women rep for Marsabit County. Thank you so much for joining us on NTV. Perhaps what do you look forward today and at this time and moment in this political landscape? What are the things that you're going to pray for?
Number one, it is a great day that God has given us. This happens annually, and 20 years ago, great people of God started this fellowship and this great day. From now on, what we want is to have it in the calendar so that it can be the last Thursday of every May of the year. And our theme for the year is reconciliation. It is a day that Kenyans come together, mainly to say thank you to God for the far He has brought them, and also to pray for the needs of our country and also for the world. This is a very special one because after elections now, we are like 7-8 months, and this is the first prayer breakfast that this government is having. And as we said, the theme is reconciliation. We chose the theme of reconciliation because we are just from elections, and some people have not yet recovered. Others have bruised each other, you know, inter-parties, and even people have, you know, gone through so many things. And again, when you look at it generally, reconciliation is needed at every level. Couples, even between married people, families, societies, different ethnic groups, and even us as a country. That is why we chose the theme of reconciliation, because it is always there. But reconciliation goes with forgiveness. Like now, we have invited our fellows from the opposition side. Their leadership have come. We thank God for that, because that itself is good. They have said all the members of parliament to come, but the principals have not come. Well, I would have loved if we are all here to pray together and also show some solidarity in terms of, our patriotism and working together as a nation. But that aside, it is a great day, because I remember yesterday even members of opposition party, members of parliament said they will be there. Some of their leaders are here, and people have come from all over. We are expecting about 3,000 people, and you can see the tent is already full. This is something that is sponsored by Parliament. So I want to congratulate the Parliament of Kenya that is spearheading this, and for the great thing we are doing. A praying nation, a family that prays stays together. A nation that prays together stays together.
Thank you so much, Naomi Jilo, the women rep, says a nation that prays together stays together. Veronica Maina, thank you so much for joining us on NTV. Mheshimiwa, today you've come here. What are you looking forward to, first of all? And perhaps we are at a time when there is a back and forth, push and pull about the finance bill. And today we have seen the opposition has not, leaders especially, have not committed to attend this event. What do you say about that?
First of all, this is my first prayer breakfast since I joined Parliament. I am a first-time nominated senator, and I'm delighted to be part of this event. And we continue to thank our Parliament, our leadership, our President, our Deputy President, for not being ashamed of the gospel. I find it as a strong, bold statement that Kenya is a Christian nation, a nation that looks up to God for help, a nation that has depended on God, and a nation which has been given peace by God himself and the cooperation of very many Kenyans. Now today, if there is anything that I can say Kenyans agree on prayer. We may disagree on so many other issues, but on the question of prayer, on the question of worship, Kenyans truly always are in agreement. And if there is a moment where people can just take a moment, reflect, meditate, think about our nation, think about the future of our generations, think about the future, it's on such a day like this. So I would say for Parliament to hold this, first of all, it's for real prayer, to seek for God's intervention in many issues, to seek reconciliation and talking to one another and understanding that every Kenyan belongs. Nobody is a stranger. We all belong to Kenya, and the nation belongs to all of us. Unity is strength, and one of the things we must endeavor from today to do from today is to be united for the cause of building our nation. Our nation without unity may not go far. But if we are united on certain themes, on certain issues that are fundamental, issues of service delivery to Wananchi, issues of being honest, issues of being ethical when we hold public office, let this prayer breakfast also speak to us as leaders, that we roll out programs that are credible to Wananchi, programs that make Wananchi happy, and the Wananchi also to support. You know, sometimes there are moments where people just contest because of contesting, for the fun of just contesting. We don't need to do that. We can turn around and say objective criticism is good because it improves the process, but where we need to support, let's think deeply and build together. This is our nation. It's the future of our generation. God is on our side, and the great work He started in our lives, He is faithful and just to accomplish it. So God will bless Kenya. God will accomplish the good task. The plan will be accomplished in the nation of Kenya. And we just pray for understanding, reconciliation, and friendship across. So it's a day where we give a hand of fellowship to everybody, all Kenyans together, worshiping together, praising God, and calling upon the intervention of God.
Wow, Mheshimiwa Senator nominated Veronica Maina, thank you so much for your time. Allow me now to speak to the Member of Parliament for Tetu, Geoffrey Wandeto. Thank you so much for joining us here. Sir, perhaps today, what are you looking forward to, and perhaps what are you looking forward to praying for, especially in this event? And what are your sentiments in regards to the Azimio la Umoja leaders snubbing this event?
I think this is a Thanksgiving prayer breakfast, because as a country we have just come from a very divisive election. And so this is an opportunity for us to bring our people together, for us to begin the process of healing. The nation is also just recovering from a very long drought, and we thank God for the rains. You know, the food situation is getting better in our country. And there is also quite a number of other things to thank God. But because we also believe there is only so much that we can do, and a lot of other things we have to seek divine intervention, we are also here to commit our country. We have significant challenges ahead. We know our economy is still in not a very, very good situation, and we are working very hard towards its recovery. So we'll also be seeking a divine intervention to God to lead our country going forward. In terms of those who have decided maybe to come or not to come, I would just maybe say prayer is a very individual thing. If someone feels they do not want to join the rest of the believers here who have come to pray, we really cannot coerce anyone to pray. But my advice would have been, this is a moment of healing. This is a moment of reconciliation. This is a moment of bringing our people together and sending, the message out there that it is one Kenya, all united under God.
Mheshimiwa Ndeto, members of parliament and leaders have actually been accused of attending these prayers, but after this, the sentiments that follow, political utterances out there in political events are sometimes deemed as being very aggressive, and sometimes out of, what they profess here today. Perhaps what would you say about that? You are a member of parliament. What did you say about that?
Yeah, I would say that we are all God's work in progress. So yes, it is sometimes normal that we come here and we are before God. We are all very good people, and maybe sometimes after we go out there, we start our wars. But I think the more we do this is an opportunity to bring our people together. So the more we come together, the more we pray, the more we start finding common ground. Yeah, the more we start finding common purpose and a common way of approach, the better it will be for us as political leaders. So I don't think we should be too worried about what sometimes happens after this prayer breakfast. The Bible reminds us to pray without ceasing. So maybe the more we pray, the better.
Indeed, pray without ceasing. Geoffrey Wandeto, Member of Parliament for Tetu, thank you so much. Esther Passaris, the Women Representative for Nairobi, thank you so much for making time for us. You've come here among the people who arrived very early, I saw that. Perhaps, what do you expect here today?
Okay, first of all, the whole theme for the National Prayer Breakfast is reconciliation. And I think the messages that I'd like to hear are reconciliation at all levels, starting with the family. Because we have a problem with family reconciliation. We've got a crisis on single mothers. That means the family unit is not holding together. And we need to have more responsible men that actually take care of their own and their children, so that we have children that grow with the guidance of both parents. So I would like reconciliation in family. I would also like to see reconciliation in the public sector, in the sense that a lot of people are disgruntled and not happy with the level of service and the commitment to serve. So if we can have reconciliation within ourselves on how best to serve and do the job that we're given in the best way. And then, of course, right now in political leadership, I think it's really sad that my party leader, Raila Odinga, will not be attending. I hope that he will have a change of heart and attend. And because I know Raila Odinga is the kind of person who is always on that path of reconciliation. Every time, no matter how much wrong they do to him, he always gets to the table to reconcile for the good of this country, and he wants the best for this country. And the fact that he feels, I don't want to be in that space where I will be overly disrespected as an elder, as a leader. I'd rather not go there and tarnish what is meant to be a prayerful day. All right? Even whether, God knows your heart and he knows your soul. So if he's going to be feeling that, these people have no respect for me, all right, then obviously he doesn't want to be in that space. So
Mheshimiwa Passaris, apart from Raila Odinga saying that he's not going to attend, he also mentioned that it's because of the lack of honesty with the citizens as well. Why do you think he said that?
Honesty with the citizens. Okay, I didn't see that particular statement. Honesty with the citizens. I think first of all, you see, as Kenyans, we've got to want the best for our country. And for me, I'm still struggling with the fact, though I understand, I'm still struggling with the fact that 8 million people didn't come out to vote. I'm still struggling with the fact that we didn't have a huge turnout. I'm struggling with the fact that IEBC, right, did not do its utmost to win the confidence of everyone. You see, when you are a body that is conducting an election, everybody has to be confident with your ability to conduct an independent, free, credible, fair election. So I think we have a lot of work. If we're going to reconcile this country in terms of elections, we're going to have to really build, take off from where the IPPG had taken off and try and build strong institutions. There is no country that will become prosperous without strong institutions, without the rule of law. So I think that's an area that we really have to push the government to ensure that we have those achievements. And then there's the other part of reconciliation, which is faith-based. I think everybody is struggling to understand how religion can brainwash so many people to actually, I don't know, ending their lives. You know, the Bible preaches that Jesus will come, you know. It doesn't preach that you should go to Jesus. You know, you work towards being Christ-like, and when Jesus comes, whether you're still here or whether you're there, we don't know, you will meet Jesus. And here you are, you have thousands of people that have been reported missing, and you've got this big ground in Shakahola where bodies are being exhumed, and there's so many stories floating there. I would like to tell the public that there we need to reconcile. Religious leaders have got to self-regulate, and they've got to try and ensure that they actually preach the word of God. Everybody is not a preacher. Everybody doesn't have the message, and that's why when Mama Aida Odinga said they need to go, because even the Bible requires study. Even the Quran requires study. You have to be a scholar to go and lead others. And I feel we have let it go to such an extent that you can have a Mackenzie that goes and tells people, you know, starve yourself and you will meet God. And I think we've got to reconcile that. So as a nation, we have to also reconcile tribalism. We have to figure out how we're going to actually end corruption. Because corruption is not just government. Government is an institution. Corruption is all of us together. And as leaders, I think it's important that we stand for the good of this country, irrespective of our political affiliations. So the country has to come first. When you're elected and you take oath of office, you're supposed to serve everyone. And I think that's the key issue. So I pray that all Kenyans today, wherever you are, let's pray for the prosperity and the peace of this nation, because peace is godly.
Lastly, you're among the people who have said that the elections are over, it's time to move on. And of course, this particular prayer breakfast is happening at a time when there is heated conversation around the finance bill. What are your sentiments about that?
I believe that if the government can move the finance bill without needing anybody else. But the question is, if they move it without listening to the voices of Kenyans, then it might end up with having a lot of problems in having peace around the country to actually deliver it. I think the biggest problem with the finance bill is also the public relations around it. I think we never sensitize the people enough about it. And the fact that what are our plans to get debt free, all right, to be able to grow the economy. But Kenyans are also not trusting. And trust comes with doing good deeds. So again, we need to reconcile our promises with our delivery. So there's a lot of reconciliation, and I just want us to have that open spirit so that we can work together. For me, I feel that we have to understand the place where the government finds itself, and it's not Ruto's problem, it is our problem. We were part of government in the last government, so we also made certain decisions that were wrong. And right now, the world order is in a bad place. So we all need to reconcile that what we need to do is come together to the table and work for the good of Kenya. Opposition is not about combative stances. It's about working together to deliver and checking the government to ensure that whatever it promises its people. And I'm glad that Raila Odinga is leading a very effective and strong opposition. He has actually made Kenyans become more sensitized with the happenings in the country. And I believe that if we work together and if we respect each other, respect is key, we will be able to achieve what we want to achieve for the greater good of this nation.
Thank you so much, Esther Passaris, the woman representative for Nairobi County. And of course, we are going to be speaking to Samuel Kobia. Thank you so much for joining us. Today, you're looking very sharp. Today, what do you expect and look forward to in this event?
Thank you. Well, I look forward to hearing Kenyans discuss and participate in what I would say is really the most important matter in Kenya today, and that is healing and reconciliation. I would expect Kenyans to be very frank about the challenges that the country is facing when it comes to dealing with our troubled past and the challenges that we have today, and that will then come up with a very clear direction on the way forward.
Some of the challenges, as you've mentioned, that we are facing today, and the National Cohesion and Integration Commission have voiced concerns about this, is of course heated political temperatures, the question of tribalism, especially in the hiring process. And today, are these things that maybe you look forward to settling, and of course also the leaders introspecting about this and actually trying to sort the mess out?
Yes, what the country needs to do really is deep introspection, because we have only scratched on the surface of some of the problems that we have. Already we have warned about the very skewed hiring and employment at the county level and the national level, without being compliant with what the Constitution says. So we have warned on that. But besides that is the way many Kenyans feel, not only because of the very high cost of living, but that that unity, that cohesion that Kenya promised to have as an independent country, we have not achieved that. And that is why I want to say that in the past we have missed many opportunities to do this. And the National Prayer Breakfast then should give that opportunity, because this is when people begin to realize that unless we really treat each other as a brother and sister, and we move together without leaving anyone behind, that's when we will achieve the unity and the cohesion that the country longs for.
And speaking of national cohesion, today we've seen, yesterday we saw the Azimio leader Raila Odinga release a statement and say that the opposition leaders are not going to attend this event, particularly mentioning that it doesn't create the environment that is needed, especially for the trust of the citizenry, and also having a good relationship with government. And from where you stand, what do you make of this move by the opposition?
Well, it is very unfortunate that the Right Honorable Raila Odinga made that decision. But also, I was a bit encouraged when he says, anyway, anyone can go. And we are looking forward to the leadership of opposition being here. I believe that Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka will be here. At least that's what he had said yesterday evening. And my advice to Honorable Raila, really, and we sent a message to him to say, can you reconsider? Because this gives us actually the opportunity at the national level to then be seen to be working together, the government and the opposition. I know that he was very concerned that sometimes people might utter words that are, not very pleasant to him, but we cannot avoid being together even when we disagree with each other. So my call to Raila is that he should be seen to be there where Kenyans are trying to reconcile with each other and to reconcile with our past so that we can have a better future for all.
Thank you so much, Chairman Samuel Kobe, Chairman National Cohesion and Integration Commission, of course, speaking largely about why it is very necessary to have the country come together. Of course, speaking there about Azimio la Umoja leader Raila Odinga snubbing this event, and of course saying that somehow takes away from the political unity that we experience or we are supposed to have as a country. And of course, we've had a number of leaders speak to us here at the Safari Park Hotel. Of course, their reflections on what they expect today, and also particularly the political temperatures, the current political landscape, speaking about the finance bill, and of course some of the issues that we are also looking forward to talk to them about is also the 3% housing levy that in particular has brought debate among Kenyans, and there are Kenyans who are opposed to that particular housing levy, and we have also those who support it, but it is something that has caused debate, back and forth, push and pull, with some of the Kenyans saying that of course this comes at a time that they feel that the basic commodities are high, the high cost of living is taking a toll on them, and of course this is something that they have opposed fiercely. But remember, the National Prayer Breakfast has been a stage of extending an olive branch. We saw this 5 years ago when President Uhuru Kenyatta extended an olive branch to Raila Odinga just after the handshake in 9th March 2018 right here on this stage. Last year we saw a different scenario. We had the President Uhuru Kenyatta seated at the different tables with the then Deputy President William Ruto, who is now the President. And of course today we are again seeing that rift, that today we are seeing that Raila Odinga is snapping this event. So of course we are your ears and eyes on the ground here, but for now I'd like to take you over to my colleague Olive Barrows, who's standing by. Olive.
All right, thank you, Melita. We've heard from several leaders who've called for, again, they were in theme calling for reconciliation, a spirit of unity, working together. I am holding here, there's a choir performing behind me, and the event is more or less underway as people get settled in, get some breakfast, but I have a program here in my hands. I'm seeing that the welcome and opening comments will be by Honorable Samuel Chepkonga MP, Ainab Koi, who is the co-chair of this breakfast. Honorable Daniel Manzo will also be making a statement. There will be a welcome message from the Speaker of the National Assembly. Scripture reading, Honorable Professor Margaret Kamar. A prayer for Kenya, led by Honorable Faith Wairimu Gitau, MP Nyandarua. And I see here the name Honorable Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka, founding chairman, Kenya National Prayer Breakfast, but we are in possession of a statement from Azimio that the principals will not be attending this prayer service, or prayer breakfast, but they did say their members of parliament were free to do so. There will be the customary performance by the Bunge Fellowship Choir. The choir master in this case will be Honorable Silvanus Osoro, and Danson Mungatana, Senator Tana River, and on the program I will go through it, but keynote address will be by Lord Dr. Michael Hastings of the UK House of Lords, and let me see, have I missed anything? There will be a prayer for reconciliation as well, led by Honorable Justice Daniel Musinga, who is the President Court of Appeal, and Ms. Sujata Kotamraju, who is the Chair Lady, the Hindu Council, and Honorable Kipchumba Murkomen, the Cabinet Secretary, Roads, Transport and Public Works. And sitting next to me here, just to reintroduce those who may have just joined us, we have Kawive Wambua, and he is the Deputy CEO in Inuka, Kenya. We also have Reverend Canon Chris Kinyanjui, who is the General Secretary, NCCK, National Council of Churches of Kenya. Gentlemen, we're discussing the question of corruption before I hand it over to Melita Oletenges. And Kawive, I cut you short, but you are asking you were saying you're encouraged by the statements the president has made on the subject, but you said you're not seeing a plan. You're not hearing about a plan. And I responded to you that the way the president has said, and continuously even through the campaign period, said he would tackle the issue of corruption was to ensure these institutions, the investigative agency, the judicial arm of government, operate independently.
And I'm saying, Olive, that if that is the plan, then there should be a way of implementing it. Right now, I can tell you for a fact that as a nation, we do not have a parliament. Because a parliament is being given orders by State House. And publicly, it happened, was it in Narok, when the president said, we are going to pass this. So what is parliament for? Then, if you look at independent institutions, the constitutional commissions, their independence is determined by two things. One, the staff. Who is in these commissions? And then number two, the financing. Most of these commissions are moribund. They don't have resources. And the people who are going into these commissions are almost directed by the executive. So what independence is there? If a commission does not have money, it cannot do the basic things that it is supposed to do. And if the people who are in it, like for instance, we are talking about AG going to the NIS. Do you expect the NIS to ever have a clean investigation? If the person, and I'm told that he was approved by the committee to go to parliament, and most probably he will be approved by parliament. So, and there are issues, there are integrity issues that are being questioned. You don't expect anything from these sort of so-called independent institutions. They are not independent. Look at the judiciary. You know, the Chief Justice and the President are almost speaking from the same script. So, we do not expect this independence to be real. And that's the fact that you have to deal with it. So, if that is the way of fighting corruption, then it cannot happen. If the DPP in the last 6 or 7 months removed very many cases of corruption without explanation, just like that, say, I'd even said at one time I had been influenced. What independence is there? If we could not resist independence, if we not insist on independence, then independence walked out through the window. Actually, I was telling the Reverend here, and although he did not agree with me, but I'm telling him, now Kenyans, we are alone. We are only with God. And that's why I think we should transfer this prayer breakfast to our prayer houses and pray for ourselves and pray to God.
Okay. That,
like I said in the beginning, our leaders should listen to us.
All right. But, you know, I must speak in defense of the Chief Justice because she's not here to defend herself. You said that her and the President are speaking from the same script. Why do you say that? Why is that your view, your perspective? Why do you perceive it that way?
I think the perception is created by what actions we see. There are certain pronouncements that are being made. For instance, the question of independence of Parliament. I think we need the judiciary at this time, knowing that there is nothing else, to be quote-unquote activists, helping bring the sanity to the nation. Because if all of us, like you know, fall into the same trap, we will not get anywhere. And that is not happening. That's what I mean.
Okay.
That, for instance, you see them in the same functions saying the same things, and then you are wondering, where are we at? Where will you run to? The fact that of the case, of course, eats into that credibility, but we don't want to go to that because it's already done, dusted. But there must be a way of pro-people legislation, pro-people ruling, pro-people, like the judiciary should have refused the withdrawal of those cases. That's refused. You plainly refuse, because, I mean, if they are withdrawn, then they need to ask for accountability from the parties that brought the cases to court in the first place. That has not happened.
All right. At least not to the best of your knowledge.
I don't know. I don't have that information.
Yeah.
I think we don't share all the views with Kawive here when it comes to issues of corruption. But I think the first issue is to say that there is a big challenge with wastage fraud and corruption in government today. I think all government people have said that. The former president said it. Even the regime of President Kibaki, we had the grand corruption. So corruption is a real issue in the country. And it is juxtaposed around democracy. Because for you to fund election, they go and steal from the public so that then they can fund election. What is the budget of running a presidential campaign? It's in billions. Where do you get that kind of money? It is only in the public coffers. That is a very big issue. And as a church, we have been asking ourselves, we really push for democracy, but democracy seems to have created now other unintended consequences, which is one of them, which is corruption. What we have to do and what we ask the government to do is to make sure that all the institutions that are independent must be seen to be dependent. There's a clear perception, and I share some views with Kawive about the apparent lack of independence of institutions. And I think this is where the rubber meets the road. Kenyans must have trust in the organization and institutions that fight corruption, for example. But they can't have that if they have seen the withdrawal of cases is a big scandal that is going to be with us for a long time. Because even if the cases were bogus from the word go, why were they there in the first place? I think that question has not been answered satisfactorily. However, we have to ask, and I think the president pledged that he is not going to use KRA, he's not going to use the police or other agencies to do politics, that he will do politics. We want him to keep that pledge, because we don't want people to be arrested just because of their political opinion or the political side that they have taken. And I think it is very important, because anything that is done for political ends and not for justice then undermines the independence of our institutions. We have a lot of reform that is going on, and there's a feeling that a lot of that reform is being used to consolidate power and to consolidate some of the functions that have been decentralized either to the counties or to other agencies being brought back to the ministries. This is something that the government must check, because Kenyans are not going to take it lying down. There must be a way that we make sure that agencies that are given a duty, they carry it to the end. And if they don't, then they are held to account. I want to laud the president for the action that he took on KEMSA. KEMSA is one of the most corrupt institutions in this country. And we must make sure that the people who run KEMSA are not people that lack integrity. However, this is the second time we are seeing that kind of action by President Ruto, but we also saw President Uhuru do the same. There must be more systematic and in-depth change in the way KEMSA runs. KEMSA is the one that supplies all the drugs in the country. There is no way the government can rely on an institution that is corrupt. If that is the basis, then we are not going to move forward.